Man, I can't wait to get this thing on the road and see what it can do. Woo! Upon inspecting the pins on the harness, it looks like the pins might not be the best to repin. So what I ended up doing is buying a new pigtail from Amazon. It was like $6, you know, nothing crazy. We're gonna wire this new pigtail onto the harness just to make sure the connections are proper and that we don't have any issues trying to repin this into a new connector head. We're gonna start by cutting the wires right at the base of the pin. This insulator is being a pain in the butt. I don't want to cut it, but in order to make sure we have a good connection to the new wires, we're gonna have to slice this a little bit just to give us some room. We're just gonna do a small incision at the tip. Cut it down nice and easy. Be very careful. You don't want to cut yourself, nor do you want to cut any wires that doesn't need to be cut. There we go. And as you can see, we have two wires here. We have the black, which should be ground, and the yellow, which should be power. Now we're gonna use these wire strippers to strip the wire. Looks like it's 1.3 gauge wire, so strips pretty easy. So we're just gonna twist the wires like this so they're not all over the place. Now we have the new pigtail. It's already pre-stripped, so you just pull off the ends there and you have the exposed wire. I wanted to connect a little more because this is kind of really small. So we're gonna strip it a little more. There we go. I'm more happy with this amount. And just like the other ones, we'll coil these together as well. All right, now we're about ready to get it connected to each other. So I have these. These are heat sinks with some solder in the middle. I think they're pretty useful, pretty handy. What you're gonna do is you're gonna heat up the ends after you connect the wires together, and this will shrink around the ends. And then you heat up the middle, which solders the wires inside the heat shrink. Pretty simple, pretty handy, pretty effective. So we're gonna put this one over the black. There we go. And then these two, we're just gonna spin around each other to ensure it's a pretty solid connection. And then we're gonna drag this down over them. There we go. Now we have the solder right over the connection. Might have to rip the insulation a little more just to give us a little more room. There we go, beautiful. So before we heat it up, we're gonna get this wire back in the insulation just to protect it a little bit. We're gonna make sure this wire is out the way. And now we have freedom to heat up the heat shrink. Got my little trusty barbecue heater, always works well. Other side done, and now we do the middle. And that is what I call a solid connection. Now we're just gonna do the same things to the positive side. Once it cools, provides a pretty solid connection. You can see the solder has started to spread inside, so it does a really good job. I think this is probably the most cost-effective way to solder these wires without having to go through that whole process with the needle and the solder and all that weird shit. You know, I don't like that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of time. This makes things really simple, really easy, and really clean. Kind of stuff it back into the insulation, and then we will cover this with some electrical tape, and we're good to go. And there we go, all brand new. Time to get the harness back into the car. You know what's crazy? I'm lying here at night after a 10-hour shift at work at my day job, working on a Civic, and I'm learning to build. And I am extremely happy. I don't know if you guys can relate, but something about just coming home and working on a car, it just brings you peace. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure most of you guys can relate to this. These cars are more than just machines. They help us relax. They give me some sort of purpose in life. That being said, it is now time to get the bitch pin in. I can't say I'm looking forward to this, but we gotta get it done. Oh my gosh, the amount of dirt. There it is. The bitch pin is in. So we got the intake manifold gasket right here, brand new one. Now here comes the intake. The intake manifold is on. All 7 nuts are tightened, and everything looks pretty good. I think it's time, guys. I think it's time for us to mock that turbo up. This is gonna be crazy because I have no idea the orientation of this thing, but we're gonna get the manifold, the turbo manifold on, then we're gonna see if we could get this bolt up and see which way this is supposed to go. So there it is. Turbo manifold. It would be so cool if it was a top mount, but it's not. It's gonna sit like that. I'm not gonna put any gaskets on, obviously, because this is just a mock-up. I am just gonna secure it really quick with some screws so it doesn't fall off while we're getting the turbo onto the manifold. Now, I believe this bag comes with some studs that goes into these 4 holes that hold the turbo. So let's get these in so we can actually get the turbo mounted properly. Now I did double check, and both sides of the studs are equal length, so it doesn't matter which way they go in. So here's an interesting fact. The new manifold has very tight clearances up here. So in order to get these nuts in, you actually have to pull the manifold back, and there's a very slight indentation on the top of it where you could thread the nuts onto the studs, and then you could push it back and get it all the way on. For now, we're just gonna hand tighten them. Now we're gonna see if we could figure out exactly how this turbo is supposed to sit on the manifold. But I'm not so certain that's right. So let's turn this the opposite way. Well, it definitely doesn't go this way because it can't even fit. So I guess it does go this way. Definitely some tight clearances here. What do you guys think? Is this correct? Do I have to change the orientation? Mind you, it came out the box like this, so I'm not certain if it was set up to just bolt on or if we actually have to rotate this thing to make it fit properly. But there it is. The turbo is on. Looks like there's quite a bit of space to get everything piped up. But man, does it look good. Look at that, guys. That thing looks so good there. Can't wait to get this thing on the road and see what it can do. Woo! It's coming together, guys. Pretty soon, everything's gonna be up and running, and then we're gonna take this bad boy to get tuned and dynoed to see exactly how much power it's gonna put down. In the meantime, I'm gonna research this turbo location and see if I gotta switch up the orientation to make it work better. But it looks good. It looks real good. I think we're done for today. Next episode, we're probably gonna start piping up the turbo, get the intercooler mocked up, and see how much of this turbo kit we can get put together on the vehicle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.